And thank you all so much for today's class. I see that everyone is joining from all over. I'm from New York. But again, thank you for taking time to join class today. We can go to the overhead camera and I will show you what we'll be making and all the supplies we're going to use. We are making royal icing floral cookies today, and we are going to be using a stiff consistency royal icing. While I'm explaining some of the supplies, let me know if you're new to using royal icing, if you've ever tried the Satin Ice royal icing mix yet, or if this is the first time, let's just do it together. It's going to be fun. So I have the royal icing mix, of course. This is a powdered mix that has everything you need into it. All you just have to add is warm water. And I have some round sugar cookies here. I have the Satin Ice food color gel. Today I have pink, purple, and blue. I thought they were nice spring light colors that we could do, but you can do this in any color you want. You could do really bright flowers. Those would be really pretty. So you have the freedom to do whatever colors you wish and really whatever flowers you like. So we're just going to be going over some different techniques for different types of flowers and how to achieve petals using frosting. I have a KitchenAid mixer here and I have the paddle attachment. I have some small mixing little bowls so that we can mix different colors. Piping bags. I like to use the disposable ones because it's just so much easier. You get to toss it out after. I have different spatulas so that I have them to mix the colors. I have a teaspoon and a tablespoon for when we're adding the water to the royal icing mix. I have my warm water here. Let's see what else I have. Scissors to cut the piping bags. I have wet paper towels and dry paper towels. The wet paper towels are going to help us when we are mixing colors and we have to cover the frosting so that it doesn't dry out. So let's talk a little bit about the Satin Ice royal icing mix. Like I said earlier, all you have to do is add some water and it's ready in minutes. It makes about 2 cups. It's gluten-free, dairy-free, vegetarian, and nut-free, which is amazing. And the beauty of this mix is that it's pretty much like making homemade royal icing without having to add meringue powder and powdered sugar. It's all the ingredients and the flavoring is right in this bucket here. All you have to do is add water. So the other great thing is that you can, it has versatile workability because you can make different consistencies. Like today, we're going to be doing a thick consistency to get these petals, but you can also add more water to make it a flooding consistency to make flat, completely flooded cookies. You can really get any consistency you want out of this just by adding more or less water. You can also customize the color, which we're going to do today as well. I like to use gel food coloring because it won't ruin the consistency of the icing or anything like that. You're not going to be adding a bunch of liquid to it. And you can also customize the flavor if you want. This has like a subtle vanilla flavor to it, but if you wanted to add lemon, you could do lemon extract, almond, whatever flavor you like, you can add to it. But today we're just going to put it in the mixer, add a little bit of water until we reach a thick consistency, and we will change the colors up and we'll get piping. So first, I'm just going to remove the little food safety tab here. Someone said, can we get a copy of the video? The video it's being recorded, so it will be on YouTube after today. I think about like 24 to 48 hours after. Okay. So I'm just going to open this up and I'm going to, since this is powder, I'm going to just slowly add this to my mixing bowl. I don't want powder to go flying everywhere. Okay. Okay, a little bit of powder's flying. Okay, so next we're just going to start adding some water and we're going to mix it on low. especially because this is powdered base. You don't want the powder to go flying everywhere when you start mixing. So I'm gonna just start. One tip with royal icing is that water goes a very long way. So I'm going to just start with 1 tablespoon and I'm just going to let it start combining. And if I have to add another, I'll add another tablespoon. And then after that, I'll start going from teaspoon and smaller, because when you get down to, you don't want to, you can always add more. You can't take away. You'll have to add powdered sugar if it gets too thin. So I'm going to just slowly, I'm just going to bring this up and I'm going to first put a tablespoon in. I'm going to put the mixer on low. I'm going to add another tablespoon. So I added 2 tablespoons so far, and if you can see, it's kind of starting to clump together. I might have to add like maybe another teaspoon at a time, but I'll let you know if I do that. It's important to mix this for about 5 minutes, 1 minute on low speed, and then 5 minutes maybe to like low medium speed, because that's going to help get it a bright white color. And so we can achieve nice colors when we add the food color. So I'm just going to keep mixing on low, see if I have to add any more water, and I'll let you know. So I'm going to add 1 teaspoon. The reason why I didn't want to do another tablespoon is because I didn't want it to be too much. So from this point on, I'm just going to add a teaspoon at a time. So far I have 2 tablespoons and 1 teaspoon of water. I'm going to add 1 more teaspoon. Okay, so it's really starting to clump together. That means that the water is doing its job, but I am seeing that it's getting stuck on the bottom of the bowl. So you really want to make sure that everything gets completely combined. So I'm just taking my spatula and I'm making sure that I'm just scraping the sides and the bottom really well. This way everything gets completely combined. And I'm also just going to scrape the spatula too, because some icing is on here. I'm going to start mixing again, and I'm going to add another teaspoon of water.
Sarah, there's a question asking, how much of the mix are you using?
I'm using the full tub. And I'm using warm water. And I'm slowly adding this small amounts at a time, like I said, because royal icing is very sensitive to water, and I'd rather add water at a slow amount of time rather than having to have too much water in it. It becomes soupy and then have to add powdered sugar. You can use warm water. I think someone just asked if you could use cold, but I would use warm water. So now at this point, it's getting to a thick consistency. And I'm gonna take a teaspoon of water, but I'm just going to slowly add it like a little bit at a time. I might not add the full thing.
Sarah, I think they're also asking, could you ever use cold water with this mix?
I would use warm always. So right now, I'll show you the consistency of this. It's definitely a thick consistency. And I might have to add a little bit more water. A small amount at a time. But I'm going to continue mixing so that this can get nice and white and a little fluffier. Again, I'm just scraping down the sides and the spatula just to make sure that everything gets evenly combined and that there's nothing stuck on the sides of the bowl to get crusty.
Sarah, there's a few questions. I'm not for sure if you can hear me. I know you got the mixer going.
I can hear.
So there's been a couple of questions. If you don't have the mix, is there a recipe on satin ice that they could use?
Yeah, so if you don't have the royal icing mix, we also sell meringue powder. And there are recipes on satinice.com and on the meringue powder pail on how to make royal icing homemade. So for that, you would use powdered sugar, meringue powder, and water. So it's a simple recipe. It's just that you have to have those extra ingredients.
And then there's another question. I think Vicky is asking, will humidity impact the amount of water added?
I would say yes. That's why I like to add it slowly, because if you're in an area that's drier, you might have to add a little bit more water. If you're in somewhere where it's not as dry, you might end up having to use less. So that's why I like to every royal icing is very picky with water. Like, it's hard to use an exact amount. A lot of times people even use a little spray bottle to just do a spray of water, like the most minuscule amount, because that can change the consistency, that little bit of water. So just add small amounts at a time. Even if you take a teaspoon and you're just slowly dropping like small drops of water as it's mixing, and you'll start to see the consistency change.
And then there's a question asking if the mix is any different than the ready to use.
Yeah, well, the end product isn't much different because it makes the royal icing mix makes a royal icing, and the ready to use royal icing is ready to go. The consistency will be more of a piping thick consistency, but if it's not thick enough to hold a petal shape, you can just add some powdered sugar to that. The difference is that you're not adding you don't have to add any water to it. It's already a made royal icing, but you can add water to it. So any royal icing that you have, whether it's the Satin Ice royal icing mix or the ready to use royal icing, you can still do this project, even if you make it homemade with the Satin ice meringue powder.
And so we have someone who doesn't have mixing bowl. If they used a regular handheld mixer, would it be any type of difference?
So for today's project with the thick icing, it should work good, but I like to, when using a hand mixer with a beater attachment for making like royal icing with a flood consistency, it could incorporate too much air into it. So just keep it on slow and when you mix it. That's why I like the paddle attachment. You can put it on slow and just let it kind of incorporate. But for today, it should be fine because we're doing a thick consistency and we're not going to have air bubbles or anything like that.
There's another question asked, should the mix be hard or stiff?
The mix, as you're mixing it, should it be hard or stiff or out of the pack, out of the pail? That's what I would want to know if they're asking. If out of the pail, it's powder. So you just dump the powder in. So it almost looks like powdered sugar. As you're mixing it, it will start to get thick. And if it's too thick, you can just keep starting to add small amounts of water at a time. Like I'm talking just little bits of drops.
There was a question asked about how much water had you added so far, but I would assume that would depend upon how much you've already or what that person is using.
Yeah, so so far I used the pail of the royal icing mix and I used 2 tablespoons of warm water and I've been slowly adding some teaspoons and I probably use about 3 teaspoons of water right now. And my consistency right now is a nice thick consistency, but I'm still mixing it. You want it to be a consistency that's thick enough to hold like a pipe, but not too thick that you're not going to be able to squeeze it out of the piping bag. So I'm just going to continue mixing this just a little bit longer, and then we'll be able to start coloring.
So we have a good mix of new users. So that's why I have a lot of questions.
Oh, this is great.
So someone's asking about the cooking, and I wasn't for sure if you bought store-bought cookies or are those homemade cookies?
These are homemade cookies, but you can look up a recipe online for sugar cookies that are like, even you could use regular sugar cookies since we're using round. You can even buy them from the store if you wanted, but I like to look up a non-spread sugar cookie recipe, especially for decorating cookies, because if you get into specific shapes, you want to make sure that the cookie doesn't spread to like morph the shape into something else. So that's a good way to Google it. So sugar cookie recipe that doesn't spread. Okay, so I think my icing is done. Like I said, I used 2 tablespoons of warm water, and then I used about maybe like 3.5 teaspoons of water after that. And I will show you the consistency I have. And right now, I'm just gonna divvy the icing up into maybe like 3 or 4 bowls. And when you're working with royal icing dries hard so that you can stack your cookies. It almost dries to like a hard crunch, like maybe like a sprinkle. And so that means that this icing crusts. So as it's exposed to air, it will get crusty. So you don't want that to happen. So to make that not happen, I like to cover my bowls with a wet paper towel. Especially when you're storing the royal icing too, you can store it back in the pail. And then I would suggest layering like cling wrap directly on top of the icing so that there's really no air exposed to it. So right now I'm just getting the excess frosting off of my spatula, and then I'm going to divvy it up into some bowls so that we can start coloring it. So it's a very thick icing. There's going to be a little bit of moisture added when we add the food coloring to it as well. But so I don't want this to dry up on us, I'm just going to add a little bit to each bowl. And then I also want you guys to keep in mind that on satinice.com, we have tons of resources for you for all of our products, like FAQ sheets, we have inspiration, education, all of that. So definitely look on there if you have further questions after today, and you can always message us as well. We're always here to help. So I'm going to make 3 different colors. I'm going to do pink, purple, and blue. And then even for some of them, I might mix the 2 colors together to get like a 2-toned look. And then I'm also going to keep some frosting white. So I'll put that in this bowl over here. And then as I'm not working with these, I have wet paper towels. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drape the paper towel over, kind of touch it to the icing and cover up the bowl. This just helps the icing from drying out. So you don't want the icing to get crusty. So I'm going to just do that to every bowl. And I'm going to make sure that I get all of the icing out of the mixing bowl. All right, so I have my icing separated into 4 bowls. One that I'm going to keep white, one that I'm going to color purple, one that I'm going to color blue, and one that I'm going to color pink. But like I said, you can do whatever colors you want. I chose these colors because I just thought they complemented each other very well. So since we're not coloring the white, I'm going to put my wet paper towel directly over the icing like this. Place it to the side. Okay, so next we can start coloring. So this bowl I will color with purple. And for mine, I'm doing more like pastel shades. So I'm going to just do the tiniest drop since I am using a small amount of icing in each of these bowls. The Satin Ice food color gel is very concentrated, which is amazing because you don't have to end up using as much food color in your frostings and cake batters and stuff like that. So to get a pastel shade, I'm just going to do 1 drop. I'm going to do 1 drop, and we're going to mix it together and see what color shade it gets. Another tip for royal icing, if you are making this more of a flood consistency, I recommend adding your food color into it when it's thick consistency like this, and then adding the rest of your water in case food color that you're using loosens the consistency at all. So this is making a really nice lavender shade. I only used 1 drop. I'm just
Sarah, while you're mixing, there's a question asking how long will that last, the mix last?
So unopened, the mix I think has probably I think it might be an 18-month shelf life, but when you mix it, royal icing, I believe, I think this is on our FAQ sheet, but off the top of my head, royal icing can stay room temperature without being on a cookie, I would say for like a week and a half, but you can place it in the fridge as well, and you can freeze it. So it will last. And as far as being iced on a cookie, it would last as long as your cookie is good. So after you frost a cookie, I would recommend letting it air dry so that the icing hardens, and then you can package it up in Tupperware or bags if you want to give them as gifts. So I have my purple icing here, and I'm just going to stick my spatula in there, and I'm going to cover it back up again while we color the rest. So next I'm going to do pink. Okay, so I just saw this hack online the other day. What's really cool, so that you don't have to take off this wrapper on the food color gel, you take the lid, you open it. Hold on, I have to put it back on here so I can open it. Open the top like this, and then there's this little, this part that keeps it sealed. You just plop that down in the center, and it creates a hole right in the center so that you don't have to take the whole lining off, which is amazing because sometimes those are such a pain to get off. So again, I'm sticking with the light colors, so I'm just going to do 1 drop of pink. That was actually a pretty big drop, but I think it's going to be pretty still. So the food color gel is a nice thick gel consistency so that it doesn't ruin the consistency of your icing or your batter, cookie batter, whatever you're adding the food color to, which is really great. You just want to make sure that you're mixing the colors in completely. Okay, now that my pink is mixed, I will now make my blue. So again, I'm just going to do 1 drop of blue. This one has to be opened. So I'm going to do the little trick again. I'm going to take the cap and I press this part into the top, right in the middle, and it opens it. Just do 1 drop. I also want to mention that today's techniques that we're going to be doing for these flowers, you can do the same thing with buttercream on cupcakes. So that's the beauty. You're going to learn a flower piping technique that can work with not only royal icing, but it can work with buttercream as well. And the difference between royal icing and buttercream, I mean, the big difference is that royal icing doesn't have butter in it. But royal icing dries hard so that you can package your cookies, you can stack them. Okay, so let's see. The first one I'm going to do is like, I don't even know the names of half of these flowers. I just kind of piped them, but I know that this one reminds me of hydrangea because it has like the 2-tone, it has the blue and the purple. So I'm going to show you the technique for that one. I'm going to take a piping bag and I'm going to use, I guess you can call this like a drop flower piping tip, or you can call it like a star tip. And what I'm doing is I'm not using any couplets or anything like that. I'm just using the piping bag, placing the piping tip in, bringing it down to the edge. And I like to see how far this goes down to the edge so I can see where I'm going to want to cut. If you cut too much, the pressure from you squeezing the icing will cause the piping tip to fly out. So you don't want to cut too high up, just enough so that the tip of the frosting tip will peek out. Okay. So for this technique, I'm going to put some blue icing and some purple icing. I'm just going to plop both in. I'm not going to do anything fancy. So I'm not going to use all of it though, in case we want to use it for another flower. So I'm just going to take a scoop of blue. Place it on one side. And when I'm not using this, I'm going to cover it back up with a wet towel. And then I'm going to take 1 scoop of purple. And I'm going to put that on the other side. So it looks like this. I'm going to cover up my purple icing. And then I'm going to just squeeze this down. And this is going to give us a really cool, like, two-toned effect. So this is probably one of the easiest cookies today that we're going to be making. All you do is you're going to hold it directly upright, piping tip upright on top of your cookie, and you're going to squeeze, stop squeezing, let go. So I'll show you. So you're going to squeeze till the frosting comes out, stop squeezing, kind of press down a little pressure, and then slowly lift up. And you just get a simple little dollop pipe like this, but you can see like the two-tone, it's so pretty. And you're just going to do this all around the cookie. So squeeze, stop squeezing, give a little pressure down, slowly lift up. You don't want to lift up as you're squeezing because it will just, the frosting will just get long. Like you want a nice short pipe. So squeezing, stop squeezing, push down a little bit, and slowly lift up. And I'm just doing this all around. I also don't like to put too much frosting in my piping bag because I have warmer hands. So as I'm holding the piping bag, the heat from my hands could make the icing thinner. So I like to only put like the amount per cookie in my piping bag. You can always refill it. But I have very warm hands, so my icing will get too soft. This color is so beautiful. I love the two of these together. So again, all I'm doing is I'm squeezing, stop squeezing, press down a little bit, slowly bring it up. This one didn't want to stick. If that happens, just take it off to the side. Squeezing, stop squeezing, push down, lift up. And first I went around the cookie and I did a ring, and now I'm going to fill in the center. So it looks like this. And then I'm just going to do the same thing, but I'm just going to add some layer to the, like, on top. So I'm just going to do some more. Squeeze, stop, slowly lift up. It reminds me of a hydrangea. So that's that technique. And you could do that with whatever color combination that you want. The next one, this is like, I have 2 different style roses here. One that's more like open, and then one that's kind of more closed off. So we'll do both of these. Let's start with Actually, we'll start with this technique first because I don't know if you could tell here, but this is kind of like it's pink on the edges and then white in the center. So what I did for that was we'll prep another piping bag. And for-
Before you go to that next cooking, there was a question asking, what do you do if it come out looking like a glob more so than a star?
So that might mean that you added too much water to the frosting. It's too soft. So what you can do is you can take your frosting and you can add like a teaspoon of powdered sugar into your frosting until it gets back to a thickness. That's why adding the water is like, you want to do it very slowly, small amounts at a time, but it's okay because you have the powdered sugar. And then that way you can just add some of that in to thicken it back up. That's your two best friends with royal icing is water and powdered sugar. Because that's like basically what it's made out of, plus meringue powder. But if it gets too thin, add powdered sugar. If you want it to be thinner, add small amounts of water at a time. But as long as it's a thick consistency, it should take up the texture of whatever piping tip you're using. So the next one I'm going to use is just the petal tip. So this has a thicker end and then it tapers down to a skinnier end. I'm going to put this in. Okay. The tip number, it might be different from yours. Mine's a 104. I think it depends on the brand that you're using, but mine's just the smaller petal tip. If it's larger, that's okay too. I do have a larger one here as well that we could use as well. Okay. So for this flower that I have, like the edges have some pink and then the center has some white. What I did was I layered some of the frosting around the piping bag and then I plopped the white in the center. And then as you pipe, it's just going to come out really pretty. So I'm just going to take some of the pink on my spatula, like this small amount, and I'm just going to start kind of pressing it along the edge of the piping bag as neatly as you can. Just enough so that it's on the edges. And then we'll put the white frosting in the center. So this is what my piping bag looks like right now. I just put some pink along the edges inside the piping bag. And then next I'm going to put some white in the center. I'm going to cover up my icing, get the white. And now I'm just going to put some of the white into my piping bag and we'll squeeze it down so that it reaches the center. Just like this. So this is again, like more of another two-toned frosting, but in the beginning, it might be more pink just because we put that first in the piping bag, but then the center is going to be white as you pipe more. So for this, for the rose, what you're going to do is we're going to start in the center of the cookie. And first, I'm gonna pipe like a small little dollop just so that I know where the center of my cookie is and I can start the bud. And when you're doing this, I like to always keep a towel nearby to like scrape any excess frosting because you always want it to be clean. And you want to make sure that you're holding this like you're holding it like this. And you want the thin side of the piping tip upright and the fatter side on the bottom, because that's going to give you the lifelike petals. So to start, we're holding the cookie like this. And I'm just going to pipe my rosebud. And to do this, I'm squeezing and kind of making a cone. So to make the rosebud, I see this, I want to clean off the tip. I was holding it kind of like perpendicular up and down against the cookie, and I'm slowly squeezing and twisting the cookie at the same time until it reaches and makes a cone shape. So now for the rest of the cookie, you're gonna hold it the same way the entire time so that the tip is perpendicular. And now we're gonna just start to make small petals. And to do that, we're just kind of gonna do like a rainbow shape with the piping bags. You're gonna squeeze and kind of go up and down to make small petals. And we're gonna start going around. So where the last one stopped, we'll start the next one, squeeze, go up and down, kind of like a little arc. This is what it looks like on the side. So after where each one ends, that's where you start your next one. So squeeze, go up and down. And you're just going to keep continuing around. So squeeze, go up and down. And you'll see the tips are pink and then the bottom is white. It's really pretty. So now that we have the center of our rose done, now, since you're going to be making, you want your petals to get kind of bigger as you go to the outside of the cookie. So now I'm going to still keep my piping tip perpendicular to the cookie. And I'm going to squeeze, but I'm not really going to do an arc motion. I'm just going to do my petal along the outer edge of your last petal and still keep up with it. Where it ends, you'll start again. So you're just going to squeeze and kind of create another petal. We're not going up and down anymore. You're just, so it looks like this on the side. Hopefully, maybe I'll try holding it like this so you can see. So I'm squeezing. You could do small arcs. That could actually be an easier way for everyone to do it. So basically you're overlapping each petal. So you're starting a petal, then at the where it ends, you're going to start your next one. So we're going to just keep going all the way around the cookie till you reach the outer edge. So you'll notice you're going to be squeezing and dragging the frosting longer as you get to the outer edge of the cookie because your petals are going to need to be bigger. So I'm squeezing and twisting my cookie at the same time. I like to, so you'll see there's seams where your frosting overlaps. That's where you can start your next petal. So squeeze, stop squeezing. Right now, I'm pretty much holding my pipe so that it goes pretty much halfway around and then stopping. Like that. Always make sure the tip is clean. As you get to the outer edge, you'll notice that you're not going to really be able to be much perpendicular, but you might have to just kind of angle the tip a little bit. So you're pretty much just squeezing, like it's like flat ribbons of frosting that this tip makes. And it's making the petals. So I'm just going to put that one to the side, and I'm just going to fill another piping bag with another petal tip, but using my purple. I can do that technique one more time before I move on to the next technique, just to go over it again. This time I'm using my larger petal tip. I'm going to do purple. You know what? I might mix the purple and the pink because I think that would be really pretty. I love that it doesn't really matter what color you use for the flower because it turns out beautiful either way. So for this next piping bag, I'm just filling half purple, half pink. I really love that two-toned look. And I'm going to do that same technique again, but I have this larger piping tip. So always, again, remember you want the fatter end to be on the bottom and you want the thinner, skinnier end to be on top. That's going to give you your thinner petals. So to start, I'm just going to do a little dollop in the center, something that I can start my cone. This tip number is 124. So first I'm going to start making the cone. So I have it perpendicular and I'm going to start squeezing and rotating my cookie and wrapping it to make a cone shape. And that's going to be like the little bud of your cookie, your rose. And from there, now we're going to start the petals. So now I'm just going to squeeze, do a small little arc, stop squeezing. Squeeze, small little arc, stop squeezing. Squeeze, small little arc, stop squeezing. And you're just working your way around and around until you reach the outer edge of the cookie. But as you move to the outer edge, you'll notice that you're going to squeeze longer because you're going to have longer petals. One thing you might notice is that royal icing definitely has more elastic than buttercream if you're used to using with buttercream. So you might experience that too as you're piping. But it's actually a good thing because especially if you're doing string work, you want the frosting to be more elastic.
Sarah, there's a question asking, how long does it take for the royal icing to dry on the cookie?
So the thicker consistency that you have, the faster it's going to dry because it doesn't have as much water content in the frosting. I always like to say, especially for these, definitely overnight, definitely 12 hours. Just to make sure that it's not going to get messed up when you package them or if you stack them. If you're doing a flood consistency, you definitely want to make sure that they dry completely for 24 hours. Sometimes people even let them dry even longer. and you want to let them dry in open air. And then once they're dry, you can put them in a closed container.
And there was a question I think I missed earlier. I think the question is, if the raw icing is in the fridge, how do you get it out to use?
Okay, so if the
So-
royal icing is in the fridge, it's going to probably get thicker. Like it might feel like it's too firm. So you might want to make sure that you get it out, let it get to like room temperature and give it another stir for sure. You're going to want to mix it again. Oh, so I just want to show this as an example. I don't know if you're even going to be able to tell on the screen, but this petal that I just did, my piping tip was upside down and it's at a thicker petal, but that's fine. So make sure that the thinner side is upright. So I'm just squeezing. Oh, my petal was upside down again. Squeezing. I'm squeezing the frosting and kind of twisting the cookie at the same time to go around.
So Becky has a question. Do the cookies not get hard sitting out?
No, the cookies will be fine because sugar cookies are on the harder side anyway. And you're not leaving them out for too long. It's just really overnight for sure. And then, but you'll be able to do like a touch test. If you touch it lightly and you're like, it could still dry more, just leave it out for a longer time. Okay, so next I'm going to move on. So now we just did the 2 rose style cookies. Next, I'm going to show how to make this style cookie. They're more flat petals as you go around. So I'm going to use the same tip that I'm using, which is the petal tip. And I'm going to use the same color that I just used for this other rose cookie. Just want to fix this edge really quick.
Sarah, since we only have 5 more minutes left, there's a question asking, how do you make the purple flower?
Okay, so I don't know if she's referring to this one, but this is the one I'm going to show right now. So for that one, we're using the same petal tip. I'm going to use the same color that I just used. And for this one, we're going to start on the outer edge of the cookie. We're basically going to just make big petals. So again, you want your thicker side of the tip to be on the bottom, your thinner side to be on the top. And you're going to lay the piping tip like this on the cookie. So sideways kind of, and you're just going to start squeezing into an arch and then back down. And that's going to create a petal. So you're going to keep going all the way around the cookie and doing this. So you're going to squeeze, make an arch, come back down, and that forms the petal. Squeeze, move up, come back down. You're kind of just making like a big arch. And you're just going to move all the way around the cookie. Okay, so that's our first layer. And then in the next layer, you're not going to have your piping tip as flat because you don't want to ruin the frosting underneath. So you're going to kind of going to be like slanted a little bit. And now I'm going to start in between the petals at the base. So I'm going to start right here so that my next petal is in between these two. So I'm just going to have my piping tip a little slanted, and I'm gonna start squeezing. Same arch, come back down. Squeeze, arch, come back down. Squeeze, arch, come back down. And you're just making your way all way around the cookie. So now that's that one. And then this one is also really beautiful, and it's going to use the same exact piping tip too, but I'm going to go with the smaller one that I have. And I'm just going to add a little bit more frosting to this so I have it.
Sarah, are the decorating bags you're using the same size?
Yes, but it doesn't matter what size decorating bag you're using. Any size that you're comfortable. Okay. Okay, so for this next one, figure out how I'm gonna, kind of like, it's when you're used to doing something, it's kind of hard to explain how to pipe something. So I hope I'm explaining good enough for you guys if it doesn't help enough to watch. So again, you always want to make sure that the fat side of your piping tip on the petal tip is down on the bottom and the skinny end is upright. And for this cookie, we're pretty much doing very similar as we just did for the other one, but they're smaller arches, and we're gonna kind of make a heart. So you're gonna start with your piping bag again, sideways on top of your cookie, and you're gonna start squeezing, making your arch, and kind of go down and up again. Like that. So start squeezing, make your arch, go down a little bit, come back up, do another arch, come back down. So it's kind of making a heart shape. And you're just going to continue to do this. So piping up, go down a little bit, come back up, go all the way back down. And you'll do this
Sarah,
all the
are
way.
you still using tip 124?
So all the tips I'm using are petal tips, and they are this one's 104, the other one was a little bit bigger, and that was 124. But it's okay if you're using a smaller one or the larger one, they'll both give you that same technique. So I have my first base of the petals done. And now I'm going to overlap them again and do the same exact technique. But now, since I have icing on my cookie, I'm not going to be completely sideways with my piping tip. It's going to be a little bit diagonal. So we're going to squeeze down, up, down. Start squeezing down, up, down. So I have 2 layers done, and I'm going to do one more layer with the same technique. So I'm going to now, as I'm getting to the center and more layers, I'm more, the piping bag has to be more vertical. So I'm squeezing, going up, coming down, going up, coming down. Are there any cookies that anyone wants me to go over one more time before the class is over? Let me know. Thank you everyone for joining. If no one else has any questions, I hope you all learned a little something about typing with Royal Icing or Royal Icing in general. And like I said, satinice.com has tons of resources for all of our products online. So definitely give our site a visit. You can get all of our Royal Icing products at Michael's. The Royal Icing mix is what we use today. You can also get the ready to use Royal Icing as well as the meringue powder to make homemade Royal Icing. We also have cookie icing, which is a flood consistency style Royal Icing that's ready to use out of the bottle. So you have all of those items that you can use to decorate cookies that are at Michael's. And before I close out, I want to show you the cupcakes that we're going to be doing in my next class for June, which are these really cute under the sea birthday style cupcakes. I can't really flip them, but they're using shimmer fondant. We're going to do an octopus, a seahorse, and a whale. They're really, really cute toppers. So that's going to be for my next class in June. So definitely sign up for that. And I believe it's a free class. But anyways, thank you everyone so much for joining today's class. If you ever have any questions, always reach out to Satinice on Instagram or Facebook or email. We're always here to help with any of your questions, but thank you and we'll see you at the next class.